I'm recording this video immediately after the one that I made on the first part on the problem of evil, and when I explained why I believe that the the most obvious thing about our situation is the fact that God seems to be as far as possible from this universe, and the problem of divine hiddenness. There are a couple of offshoots of that discussion that I thought to capture immediately in a video. So to understand this one, it's better if to read to listen to the first one. Now, so there I was saying that okay, there is a distance, there's a phase between where we are right now and heaven, and it's a stage that is necessary. And then we looked at different options, and it seems to me that what is being optimized here in terms of our relation to God is the fact that God is the most hidden. The world that we're living in seems to be the worst possible world, in a sense that God is staying away as far as it can. It cannot stay away completely because, of course, then we wouldn't exist. But He is keeping us in existence, but just barely touching the universe that we have. So there are a couple of implications of that is immediate. If God wants to be hidden, if God wants to be as far as possible, then this immediately rules out concepts such as miracles, such as religion, such as revelation in general. Because if the plan is that we need to be away from God, if the plan is that God should be hidden from us, then why ruin that plan with miracles? Why ruin that plan with revelations? So if you follow the arguments up to this point, this is already an argument against revelation and for concepts such as deism. Now, I also have to mention that sometimes when you talk about deism, it's I talked about this in another video, but usually it's portrayed as this concept that God created a universe and then doesn't want to touch it anymore. What I'm saying right now seems to be close to that, so that's why I also use the word deism to best describe the situation. But also I need to add this point that what I mean that God is barely touching our world is not, again, like someone who just winds up a clock and they'll just let it running. Notice that God is the efficient cause that we are in existence right now. So that touch, God is involved continuously with our existence. God is involved in that sense, in a very intimate and close relation. It's not like that God's just gone completely. So God is affecting the world right now. That's what keeps us in existence. But that's the bare touch that I was talking about. God just barely touching our world, keeps it in existence, but is trying his best not to intervene anymore. So that's already an argument against religion and miracles. I will talk more specifically about one specific miracle, and that's the resurrection of Jesus. To talk about that, how I don't believe that that's something that can happen. But I'm not going to go into it in this video. Here I just wanted to say that's the background upon which you can see how I could reject something like a miracle, at least the miracle of Jesus. This is not against miracles in general, of course, but you can see that on the background this can have some weight on rejecting miracles. That also, I should also mention that what I'm saying regarding the fact that, okay, they're not going to be in a miracle, this is not talking about faith. Like, I haven't got into faith. I haven't really talked about it. What I'm interested in is reason and logic. So all I'm saying is that at least by using logic and reason, you shouldn't believe in revelation, because to me it seems like that God is not trying to reveal himself. But if you want to have faith in that, in addition to what reason suggests, that's your thing. But for me, it's about the reason that we need to follow. Right. So that's one point that I wanted to make. Let's see. Yeah, one more point again. So sometimes people, when we talk about the optimality of the world that we're living in, we heard this before that. In the literature, we know that some philosopher claimed that the world that we're living in is the best possible world. But as I talked about it, actually seems to be the worst possible world. Now, for them, those who say that this is the best possible world, they need to explain that, okay, how is it that the best possible world looks like this? Why is it so bad? Like, really? Like, God can do better? Then if God can't do better, then heaven can't exist, right? Because heaven would be better than the world that we're living in. And if it's logically impossible to get better, then this is the best that we can get, but that's very bad. So they need to explain the bad things. But on the other hand, if I'm telling you that, okay, that this is the worst possible world, some people might not be as pessimist as that and say, okay, then you need to explain all the good things. Because it's not like that everything is so horrible. It is, things are bad, but it's not that bad. We still have some good things in the world. We still have some kindness. We have some justice. We see some beauty. We sense something, in the world. So it's not that bad. It's not a living hell. How do I explain that the goodness? Now, to me, again, I still believe that this, if we really look at the world that we're living in, the fact that it doesn't care at all about anything, about our suffering, it's not a living hell, but it's already a very good indication of how far we are from God. And the way that I explain the good things is basically on how great God is. So remember that we are in existence, but just a bare touch of God. God is just keeping us in existence. That's all it's doing. Everything else just unfolds out of that simple touch. The existence itself just unfolds into this magnificent thing that we can see. See, so the explanation is basically similar to the way that an atheist would explain things. That they say, okay, I don't believe in God, but I still believe that the world is an amazing place. But how is that? How do they explain it? But they say, okay, this is just the way things are. The existence, it's so amazing that it just unfolds into all these beauty. Now, for me, as I'm not an atheist, I would say that this is because of the act of creation. So even though the act of creation is just a touch, God is so good, God is so great, that even the simple touch produces so many great things, so many good things, so many beautiful things. So, that makes it very interesting, because it's as if we are in this kind of ruined state because we are so far away from God. But just the fact that God is touching our world, that touch is enough to give us so many beautiful things. And that's a very interesting picture for me. It's way better than the opposite one, to say that, hey, this is the best one that we can get. Oh no. If this is the best that we can get, then there is no God. But I don't believe that. So yeah, that's there were a couple of points that I wanted just to add to the last video. But yeah, I hope in the next part I will get into the explanation of the problem of evil, and to explain, at least try to explain. I still haven't worked out really the details. I don't know much about it, but let's try to understand how this gap, how this divine hiddenness is necessary for us to get into heaven. Cheers.